Hi, welcome to a special edition. Hello, and welcome to a special edition of Henry McClure Live, starring me, Tyler Stansfield Jaggers. This is a special short show where I'm going to be talking and answering any questions that anybody has that pop up in the comments here in this Facebook live stream here, because I'm running for City Council District 1 of Topeka, Kansas. So Matt, where is that section? It's kind of the downtown part of Topeka, Kansas. That's, you think about Kansas Avenue going up to the river of the Kansas River. That's basically separates us from North Topeka, and then it goes about as far down as 17th Street, and then up about as much as Gage. And there is some areas in between that are kind of like jagged, but I think you can kind of get the general idea. Double check your voting location on the internet. So real quick, my main three topics and points of interest for City Council would be: one, roads and core infrastructure. So what's been happening is you have been seeing some road work and maintenance being done, and that's great. We want to keep doing that and making sure that it's done right. But the goal is to be seeing less money being spent on these hotel purchases, all this business development that we're seeing where the winners keep winning in terms of getting all this extra money from the sales tax. All that money should be going towards things that benefit all Topekans, okay? Everybody. So the roads, when you fix up a road and make it run smoothly, that makes it so visitors want to spend money here. When you have the water veins and mains and all the pipes working correctly, that increases confidence that people, if they buy a home here or rent, they're going to feel good about it. And it's almost like every piece of bad publicity gets amplified massively. So whenever people hear about, their child gets abducted and taken all the way up to Illinois after there's a double homicide, people hear about those stories, and that affects tourism. That affects whether people want to move here and open up a business. And that also affects just overall, just almost like city morale. Imagine we're all on a Team Topeka here. And when these things happen, it just affects the overall morale of the city. It puts people in a heightened state where they're on the defensive instead of thinking, how can I grow? How can I grow my business? How can I grow my family? How can I grow my group of friends, right? And so that brings us to point two, which is safety. So I want to see more resources put into making sure that there's light. We want people to be able to walk around and get between point A and point B safely, and make sure that our police force is compensated and that they are feeling like their jobs are competitive with the other cities, because this is the capital of the whole state. People shouldn't feel like they're working on the cheap. Like we want the police to feel like they're being like treated competitively and fairly with the other cities in the area, and that way, at least they could say to their wives and husbands and wives and stuff when they get home, hey, this is a good job, honey, and then they just feel good about doing the gnarly job here in Topeka. Also, what ties into safety would be, we need to have a clean city no matter what. And let me explain how that affects things. So when we have all these houses that are abandoned, it increases fire risk. It increases the risk of squatters going in there and misusing the property. And it creates, if there's like homeless encampments everywhere, you're going to be having people feel like, hey, this is not a safe city to live in, okay? So the goal is to enforce the codes where if someone's working on making their house better and they own it and they're actually on it, let's try and help them first before helping all these NGOs. Okay, we got something. District 1. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna read this question here for everybody so they can hear it. So Jerry says, District 1, I want to hear what you would do about all the empty houses that owners won't do anything with and that the bums are destroying. And what does it do to the neighborhood's safety and sanitation? Okay, so there's two aspects to that question, I would say, Jerry. So the first aspect would be homes that have already gotten the pink slip saying condemned. And in the situation where the building is condemned because of either it hasn't been maintained or the ownership is not clear and there's severe damage, it is my stance, and I would vote for making it so the owners have a short, limited amount of time, either 60 days, 90 days. I don't think it should go over a quarter. A quarter is roughly 90 days, where you either demo it and sell it or do something with it, or you're going to get fines or have to forfeit the property so we can find somebody else who'll demo it and do the work, period. And if the city has to demo it for you, those owners that aren't doing the work need to pay, okay? And because when you're having a property that's condemned, it's a safety issue, it's a fire issue, and it's basically exactly what Jerry's saying right there. And when you have people that are squatting inside condemned houses, it's not safe. Thank you, Henry, for best of luck of the fifth. Thank you kindly. And then so that would be the first part. But let's look at a situation where the houses are empty, but it's not condemned. That's an interesting situation, right? So if, let's say, someone has a home and they're not actually putting it on the market, we need to think, why are they doing that? And part of the reason where someone might have a problem is in the case of eviction, squatters, and this strange thing that can happen where people move into a home. You're hearing a lot about this in Texas and Florida, where people are moving into a home and then almost like taking it over and then using legal rhetoric and lawyers to be like, oh, well, you can't evict me. This is a civil rights issue. You can't do anything to me. And the city of Topeka currently funds a line item where we are giving lawyers money to sue landlords when they're about to get evicted, okay? We need to stop funding the legalese. We should be putting that money towards roads or putting it towards our own city's debt, not funding lawyers for people that are about to be evicted to slow down the process. Eviction should be streamlined where if you can't pay, you get evicted, the people that can get new tenants in, and then we try as a city to help them find some new place or emergency housing or something. But the burden, this isn't COVID anymore. We should not be using COVID practices in order to muddy up the water for people that are trying to rent rooms or, their small apartments or whatnot. So I think that was an excellent question for District 1, because within just a few, like less than a block of my house, there are actually 3 properties like that. And what happened was some of the properties are starting to have the grass go up. I mean, could be bugs, there could be critters showing up. And then I've even seen people in like ski masks and stuff rummaging through, and it's just kind of weird. It gives a weird vibe. Imagine you had someone who's like, hey, I'm thinking about moving to Topeka. And it's like, oh, hi there, ski mask man. You find anything good in that condemned building? I hope you got your tetanus shot. I mean, come on. We need to be realistic here and not fall into this rhetoric where everything's okay. You can take your time. Your building's condemned. It's okay. We understand. You can have it condemned for over a year. Okay, this is getting bonkers town. So I hope, Jerry, that answers your question. I would just, in a nutshell, to summarize it, is let's tear down the buildings that are condemned. No brainer. And then if the owner commits to getting it fixed up, they have to show progress on doing that in a short period of time. So the first key point was roads, infrastructure. Second is safety, things like that. And then let's see. Okay, wait a minute. We have a follow-up here. Jerry says, my neighborhood has house that have been, I'm probably thinking houses that have been condemned for years. Some have been on fire multiple times even. Owners drag it out for years, and the court kind of allows it. The homeless target those houses with condemned spine and spirals. It spirals out of control. I'm going to click the button to see more. I want to see this. Because they know they're empty. Okay, so basically, what he's talking about is not made up. Oh, hey, no, all good. Yeah, so he's not making this up. This is not a one-off situation, because we've all seen these space heaters or people creating fires because they don't have electricity because they're not their home, so they're not paying for electricity. So these little fires are spreading to the rest of the building, and then, or they're trying to cook something, right? And then the situation gets even worse. So what I would bring to the council is I would just be like, hey, let's just make it so they got like 90 days or something to address the issue. And if they don't, the city needs to step in. And you might be thinking, well, it might be expensive for the city to have a bond or something to pay for the demolition of these eyesore properties. And my response would be, that's what this money should be spent on. You get it? So the $9 million for the AT&T building, or $12 million for the hotel, or $900,000 for Wolf Camera, which we didn't even use that. Okay, that doesn't help how Topeka functions, the meat and potatoes of a functioning city. We should be using the money of the city to take care of things that individuals are having trouble with or can't take care of. So in this case, making the property safer. And if we have to bond in order to deal with the demolition, then we got to do it. And there's also a group of people that are been going to the city council that want training for different jobs. Why not train some of these young people that want to have jobs? They're out of high school, they're in college, and we give them the hazmat training and have them team up with some of these demolition/construction agencies so they can gain their skill set, put that on their resume, and then they have, you got discounted labor in the beginning as they're learning the process, and they're like apprentices, demolition helpers, and that way we're providing like basic job skills. They're 1099 with the city, so they're not like getting pensions or anything. They're just people that are wanting to learn, and then they get a little bit of cash. We're taking care of this eyesore, so that way more people move in and be like, hey, there's a property that is open. I can put a house there. Or, hey, there's a property that's open. Hey, I can build a house for a family member there, or whatever. But at minimum, it's not these unsafe eyesores. So I'll hope that kind of buttresses kind of what you're talking about, because with what you're saying there is it's no longer a maybe. It happens consistently, especially around the wintertime. Why does it happen during the wintertime? Because they're building fires on the properties because they got to stay warm, right? So one was the transportation infrastructure, 2 was safety, and then 3, we want to make it so people feel comfortable starting their own business to have an additional source of income. So we have all these farmers markets in Kansas, and we have people that know how to grow their own food, or they're creating arts and crafts. I think that what we need to do is make it so the process of getting involved in this is as simple and straightforward as possible, and help people find out what paperwork they need to fill out in order to get their Kansas sales tax license, right? So you're able to do sales tax. This could be super cheap. This could cost nothing, just to be like, here's the steps you need to do if you want to sell at a farmer's market. Bam. First, you got to get your sales tax license. Here's a quick link. Next is you need to have insurance if you're selling something. And then, for example, you're selling some kind of baked good or something. You usually need to have some kind of insurance. I found that out, right? and then you might need to get a tent on all these these extra steps to kind of be like, oh, okay, I just got to go point A to point B to point C, and then bam, I can now have the food I'm growing on my property. Or I know some people have chickens, and then imagine if people could bring their eggs to these farmers markets and then you're getting really fresh, nice yolks, right? Or people bringing their arts and crafts. People are already doing that. And then so if we encourage more people to build their business, then now we can turn Topeka into almost like the city of entrepreneurs. Because I'm already have a revenue source with my video game sales, but I'm looking to buttress that with growing veggies from my backyard, and I'm even I'm learning the process of making candy. I'm working on making toffees and brittles. So I've always wanted to learn how to do that, and Topeka's like really cool. So I'm like, hey, I'm just going to learn how to make a macadamia nut brittle, right? And I've been just having friends and everybody try it. They're like, I'd buy that. So, we want people to be able to have property and own their own property eventually when they can do so, or at minimum rent, right? And then I think that's really all you got to do. A city doesn't need to have all these big ideas all the time. I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to make it so all the houses become quadplexes, or we're going to change the zoning, or we're just going to change this. Sometimes the best decision is to actually chill, let the market handle itself, and you'll find that just like growing food in a garden, some of the best things you could do is just add a little water time to time, take out the obvious weeds, and just let the garden grow and don't fuss with it too much. And you'll find that your mint and watermelon will take care of business and just grow on its own, because it has the will to live. It wants to exist in the setting you've created, right? And so that's really all what I want to do, is help make District 1 and Topeka a setting where people want to fulfill their dreams of their business. And I got another question popping in here. Gabriel Kilman, who's running for mayor as well. He's running for mayor, so he's on the primary with Henry McClure. And Gabriel, you're invited. Everybody's invited to the party Tuesday night. So, Gabriel, can you respond and say that if you could come Tuesday night to the party? Okay, let's read Gabriel's comment. How do you feel about having massage parlors, having licenses like Manhattan and Lawrence, to make sure it's not fronts popping up? We have a lot of. Okay, good. So Gabriel, because it's a potluck. So everybody who watches Henry McClure live and lives in Topeka, or you're buddies with someone, you're welcome to come to the party. So good. We got Gabriel. We need to make sure Eli comes too. Massage parlors. Okay, so are you talking about like legit ones, or the ones where it's like sketchy, where they're not using like real citizens and stuff in it? Because we don't want it where people are doing like we don't want it to be like a sex thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I lived in Pasadena. There was places to get a massage, but hopefully it wasn't a sex thing. I never had to deal with that. But can you clarify? He's voting. Hope to see improvements. Housing really sad, because this is where I grew up and live. Okay, so I want to answer Gabe's question here. I like the idea of massages being offered in a city, but I don't like prostitution rings, because that's going to make everybody plumb tuckered out. Does that kind of make sense? So if the massages are legit and they're really like chiropractic, or they're like, I used to have neck and like head tension when I was doing retail sales, because I worked at the Office Depot in Pasadena. I walked to work, and you're standing up for like 8 hours plus a day, right? And then so a good massage to work that out is good for you, right? And then but it wasn't a sex thing. It wasn't a illegal thing. So what I think what we need to do is just make sure like they're not fronts for prostitution rings, and then we just have to work with the police on that. And usually they're pretty good about it. I remember when I first moved here, there was like a bunch of busts and stuff like that, but that has to do with human trafficking and everything. So that's just part of two, which is safety. So let's scroll down a little bit. Meaning having all of them needs to be licensed to make sure it's not prostitution. Yeah, I think you just solved it yourself there. So basically, if if you're running a facility that does massages, I'm pretty sure there's already a process where they just register and then they get it worked out where they make it very clear, it's a legit business. Because I mean, let's just go a step farther and talk about why prostitution exists, period. Okay. And a lot of the people that I think that are doing the stuff where it's the prostitution, it's not because of the sex. I think they're doing it because it's their loneliness and they're not getting the companionship and the friendship from a companion that is satisfying them to be not lonely. You could be married and be lonely. You could have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and see them every day and feel like an alien in your own home. It happens. And so I think the main thing is, okay, she says, I wouldn't go to any place calling themselves a massage parlor. I would go to a chiropractor if I had a problem like that. Massage parlor sounds suspicious on its face. Sorry if that sounds weird, but yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, chiropractors sometimes have massage specialists, and then this is Tyler Jaggers, the massage parlor candidate here for Kansas. This is crazy, but I mean, these are valid questions. I feel great that you feel comfortable talking to me about this because this is a very personal subject for people. But this is great. Let's talk about it. So basically, there's massage parlors, which kind of have a more seedy tone, and then there's like I'm pretty sure there's massage people that offer it, and then there's places that offer it that they might call it something else, like a spa. They might call it a spa, right? And so you can call your stuff whatever you want, but if people go to it and it ends up being a sex thing, then it's probably not legal, and then they got to figure that out with the police. So hopefully that answers that question there. Sorry, Henry, if this went to a really more like an adult themed broadcast. But I mean, he's never going to let me back on his show now. But hey, I think it's great. So we're doing good here. We're answering the questions that you, the people, want to know about. So, but yeah, let's see. Okay, so first thing we were talking about roads and infrastructure. Second, we want to talk about safety. I would say this would deal with safety, but I want to get back to what I was saying earlier. When people are lonely, okay, they're more at risk for addiction. CD tones for sure, right? They're more at risk for addiction when they're lonely. People are more at risk for depression and also for being taken advantage of and just wasting their money and time, the time that someone loses by engaging in heavy vices could be used towards building your business. Okay, you could use that time to volunteer and make a bunch of new friends. You could join a sorority or fraternity and make new friends. There's all these people that are out there who want to meet you and want to be your friend, but maybe you got burned too many times, and so you end up in this transactional kind of lifestyle where it's almost like a form of self-sabotage, right? And so I would say if someone's stuck in this kind of loneliness loop, just realize if you go out there and volunteer for a couple different things, you'll eventually find someone who's like, hey, maybe you want to volunteer with this, and you might burn a few weekends, but trust me, you're going to make friendships that will help you find a real core of real friends that you trust. And having trustworthy friends actually is one of the foundations of a safe and healthy city. So the more people you feel like you could trust, that you know their phone number, you could call them if you're in trouble, then it's going to really be I would give it almost like a strong underpinning to make you feel better every day. Like you're not going to feel as like you're doing everything on your own. Okay. And then so that hopefully that ties in a little bit to the real reasons for a lot of this stuff. And you'll find that like from what I've been talking to the people that are at risk in my neighborhood, it's obvious that the ones that are abusing drugs and stuff are doing it because they get relationship out of it. They get friendship, temporary interactional friendships and stuff when they commune in that process. But the problem is there's always a price tag, right? And they're basically burning a lot of their disability money on narcotics. And so, yeah, if you're wondering what a lot of this assistance facilitates, it actually facilitates the or it goes towards, people will trade some of the money for their time, and then they ended up getting the drugs from it. But the reality is, it's that kind of transactional friendship is never free. There's always a price tag. And unfortunately, the most serious price tag is what it does to your health. And so I would just, I think it'd be better just to volunteer and make friends that way. So, and then the third thing was building your own business. We covered that. And then that's my main thing. I don't think the government should be doing too much. The government should just create a playing field where everybody is enjoying the sandbox and people feel confident. Everything else will take care of itself naturally. You just got to have a little faith and be willing to step in emergencies that are too intense for individuals to handle on their own, i.e. fires, floods, you have police and fire department, things like that. We don't want the government weighing in on every little issue or picking the choosers of the economic winning and the economic development. So hopefully that makes my position clear on why I'm running. And the goal is you're going to be seeing my voting pattern in alignment with that, where if I feel like it's just picking the choosing and winners of like redistributing wealth to business development that's already doing great, I'm not going to vote for that. Okay. If it's something where it's a reform or we're taking wasteful spending from one area and redirecting it to pay back our debt, so we're not doing so much money being spent on quote unquote servicing the debt. Servicing the debt with $20 million a year is just like paying off the minimum on your credit card. Okay, the city owes $500 million or $500 million in debt. So our quote unquote assets from our land bank and all these things that we're invested in or whatnot, it's not liquid cash. Okay, so that's why you have to service your debt for that $20 million a year. We don't want to do that. We want to start being a successful city that is generating money in the coffers naturally, and then we start chipping away at our debt so that way the servicing of the debt is less. So there's more money to go towards things when you need it, and you can take out bonds when it's very necessary, okay? And then from there, you can just live in a solvent city that's doing well. And when someone says solvent, it means that their budget is functioning where the input and outputs are in parity or equalized. So the tax revenue covers the expenses. And we're nowhere near there yet, but hopefully we get there soon. So I'm Tyler Stansfield Jaggers. You're watching Henry McClure Live. I hope you had a good time watching today. And I'm running for City Council District 1. And Tuesday, which is today's Sunday, tomorrow's Monday, that means Tuesday, need you to get out there and vote for Tyler Stansfield Jaggers, District 1, City Council, and then Henry McClure for mayor. And if you don't, you might see more of the same of what we've been getting, right? You get what you pay for, you get what you vote for. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching Henry McClure Live, and have a beautiful rest of your weekend.